The best thing that we can do to keep people in their homes, to keep them from being foreclosed on, is reduce their dramatically high insurance rates. First issue. Second issue, we've seen what's happened on this financial crisis right now, where the banks are failing and we have to pump money in. If there's a $150 billion natural disaster and Congress does nothing, the banks that have the mortgages on all the homes will go out of business, because the insurance companies go out of business. They won't be able to pay the claims, and that means that the banks will go out of business, which Congress is tired of bailing out banks. So the best thing they can do is pass a natural disaster program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd love to spend an hour debating the gentleman from Natick. Congressman Klein, I was the chair of the Property and Casualty Subcommittee when Hurricane Andrew struck, so I'm happy to go over that with you. Good morning. I'm Senator Steve Geller. Until I retired in November, I was the minority leader of the Florida Senate. I'm past national president of the National Conference of Insurance Legislators and chaired the Natural Disaster Subcommittee. I believe that a national natural disaster program of some type is absolutely critical. Some type of federal backstop, such as the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act, is necessary for natural disasters. Expanding the National Flood Insurance Program to cover all natural disasters would also work. I know from my days at NCOIL that many of my legislative colleagues asked why their constituents should pay so that a few wealthy people can live on the coast. It's not an issue of a few wealthy people living on the coast. Many of my former constituents in Century Village, Pembroke Pines, a senior community located much closer to the Everglades than to the ocean, will tell you that they can't make ends meet because of the high cost of windstorm insurance. Close to 80% of the population of the state of Florida lives in our 35 coastal counties, and no part of the state is more than 80 miles from the coast. And it's not just a Florida issue. Mr. Chair, I have a DVD that I'd like to enter as a supplement to my remarks.
That will be received in the record.
Thank you, sir. It's the introductions to 20 episodes of the Weather Channel television series, It Could Happen Tomorrow. Each of the 20 episodes deals with natural disasters that could occur tomorrow, causing anywhere from hundreds of deaths to hundreds of thousands of deaths, from billions of dollars in damages to hundreds of billions of damage. And they're all over the country. They include wildfires, floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, a volcano, and tornadoes. Mr. Chair, it's a national issue. If any of the natural disasters that I mentioned occurs, Congress will have to step in or else face a collapse of the financial system. If a natural disaster costing $100 billion or more occurs and Congress does nothing, the insurance industry will become insolvent. If the insurance industry can't pay off homeowners' policies on homes that have been destroyed, the banks that loan money on those homes without insurance will fail. Is this starting to sound familiar? The insurance industry is dealing with both actuarial risk and time risk. If there's a 1 in 100-year event that would cost $100 billion, the industry could charge $1 million a year. I apologize. That would cost $100 million. The industry could charge $1 million a year for 100 year for reserves, and that number would be actuarially sound. However, because of time risk, the insurance industry is trying to raise that $100 million as soon as possible, which raises rates to an impossible amount. And I don't blame the industry for trying to do this. Only the federal government can absorb the time risk while charging actuarially sound rates. Let me give you some concrete examples of how great these savings could be if Congress steps in and eliminates the time risk. In Florida, the state cat fund charges rates approximately 78% to 90% less than private reinsurers. Because they have post-claim funding, they can eliminate the time risk. In Florida, over 50% of all windstorm dollars go directly to pay for reinsurance. In South Florida and other coastal areas, this number is much higher, up to 80% or 90%. Using simple math, we see that the total windstorm rates in South Florida could be reduced by 60 to 65% with an appropriate federal program. I believe that the high cost of windstorm insurance is the single biggest issue in the state of Florida today. Many people pay more in homeowners insurance than they do on their mortgage or property taxes. Businesses have to raise their prices to pay for the high cost of windstorm insurance. The root of our current financial mess is the housing crisis. Congress has been working on ways to keep people in their homes. When people pay as much for homeowners insurance as they do for their mortgage, a large reduction in their insurance rates helps far more than a cut in their mortgage payments. Let me repeat this. In many areas of the country, the single best thing that Congress can do to keep people in their homes is to pass a natural disaster bill. The best stimulus package that we can pass is not sending everybody $200. It's reducing their insurance premiums by hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. Let the consumers spend those savings in restaurants and stores, and we'll have a much greater stimulus package than what Congress passed.
I have to ask you to wind up, sir.
Yes, sir, I will. And let's improve our balance of trade. The majority of the reinsurers are in foreign countries: Swiss Re, Hanover Re, Munich Re, Bermuda, Lloyd's. Let's keep our American dollars in the American economy instead of sending them overseas. No state can handle this alone. We've done our part. Mr. Chair, we thank you, and we hope that the federal government will help us out here.
You know, in Florida and many parts of the United States, a large percent of our population in the entire country lives close to water.
Yes, sir.
On the coasts and other places. So we have an existing issue. It's not like we can just wipe that away and pretend like it's not there and say, well, all those people just have to fend for themselves. We have a public policy that says that insurance is good, and we want to do that. Can you just share with us whether your view of this is that there's a crowd-out issue here if we do something like create a national risk catastrophe pool?
Not at all, Congressman. The problem here, as you pointed out, what some people say, oh, don't build near the water. All right, so let's eliminate Miami Beach, let's eliminate Fort Lauderdale, let's eliminate Palm Beach. That's not going to happen. And 80% of our population in Florida lives within the coastal counties. People living near the water today pay more. They should pay more. According to actuarial models, it's higher risk. Our problem isn't most hurricanes. Our problem is the unpredictable 1 in 100, 1 in 150, 1 in 200 year disaster. That's the same reason you passed TRIA. You can't model for something that you can't predict. And you just can't predict the damages for a 1 in 200 year earthquake. You can't model for what's going to happen when the New Madrid Fault goes, and that's in the state right next to yours, Mr. Chair. And so what's going to happen when all of these occur? It's impossible to model damages. We think that if the state and the private market can deal with the predictable 1 in 10, 1 in 20, 1 in 50 year events, all we're asking for is the unpredictable mega disaster, because right now the insurance industry is trying to charge for an event that probably will not occur in the lifetime of anyone in this room. The current system is just devastating for home values, as you heard the realtors talk. You are required to have insurance to purchase a home. If insurance is unavailable or unaffordable, then it devalues the home. Today, if you're not even if you're on the water, if you're close to the water, if you're blocks and blocks away, you can be paying more for your insurance than you are for your mortgage or your taxes. If you're close to the water, you pay more for insurance than the two of them combined. People can't afford that. If they can't afford the home, they won't buy the homes. That drives the value down. And again, we're not asking Congress to assume actuarial risk. Just assuming the time risk will solve much of this problem. Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
May I briefly comment 30 seconds or less on what Congressman Klein
30 seconds or less, yes, sir.
Congressman Klein, we found from Coyle, the most expensive hurricane won't hit Florida. It'll hit New Jersey on its way up to New York. The same problems we're having here right now. Houston, coastal Texas, the entire Gulf Coast, as you mentioned, New York, New England. It's not a Florida issue. These same issues are occurring everywhere around the country, not in California simply because they're not buying insurance, but the most expensive natural disaster is clearly not in Florida. Thank you, Mr. Chair.